What's up again, guys? Brian here at 3TR, and here's my official game review for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, in terms of overall plot, I can't really say that this game is based very heavily off the film itself, but what it does do is it takes a couple of story elements from the film and kind of shoehorns them into this game's plot. And in which the only two plot lines for me that really stood out is that you'll be trying to expose the Kingpin for who he really is, and then later on in the game, you'll deal with Carnage. Now, in terms of gameplay, I really want to get the good out of the way first, because this game does very few things really good, but the rest kind of half-assed and rather poorly. Now, what this game does right is the feeling of Spider-Man. The web swinging around New York is fantastic. It feels really good swinging between buildings. It's very maneuverable. The height that you can jump to is very well. The transportation is good. So being Spider-Man is very well handled. Another thing that I also enjoyed is the variety of side missions that this game has. These side missions range from being able to rescue civilians from speeding cars, to rescuing them from burning buildings, to helping police engage in large-scale shootouts, just beating random thugs on the street. And these side missions are actually very recommended because there's a little morale system that this game has that actually shows exactly how the city of New York is projecting you, whether you're being viewed as a hero for helping people or being a menace for not helping people. And if you are being projected as a menace, then you will be hunted down by this really very difficult task force which has special technology which actually can affect how you fight or you engage in a combat scenario. And that can give the game a little bit more challenging. Another thing that I also really liked is that there's a really good sense of collectibles that you can pick up over the course of the game. And the cool thing is that you can actually view them in a comic book store which is run by Stan Lee. So I thought it was really cool that he now actually has a solid presence in the game. And in this comic book, you can also read these comic books. You can actually look at all the figures for boss fights that you've encountered over the course of the game. And there's this even really cool arcade game which is really fun to play at times. Now, where the game starts to fall apart is its execution and everything else. The combat for this game is completely repetitive, and it's a ripoff of the Batman Arkham Asylum franchise. One button is meant to attack, one button is meant to counter, one button is meant to web, and one button is meant to jump. And pretty much every single engagement is going to work out the same way. You're going to press the attack button over and over and over again, and then right when you're about to get hit, you'll press the counter button, and you'll attack one or two opponents at one time. And it's rinse and repeat. Every engagement plays out the same way. There's also a really serious lack of variety in the enemies. Over the course of this game, you're going to run into maybe 3 different types of opponents. You're going to be taking on thugs with or without weapons, soldiers with or without weapons, or you're going to be taking on these kind of goblin-like super troopers, which are really easy to take down. All you got to do is pull them off their glider and beat them up before they get a chance to jump back onto it. I also thought the difficulty was very, very unwell handled. The boss fights for this entire game are all easy and repetitive. Because they are all in contained areas, they all kind of play out the same way, in which you pretty much need to just locate where they are, you zip line to them, and then you just hit them over and over and over again until their life goes down. None of them have the epic scale of a lot of the boss fights in the original Amazing Spider-Man game, and that's something I was really disappointed about this game. Another thing that I felt was really unnecessary about this game is that they seem to want to shoehorn these little conversation scenes after each boss fight. And I thought they were really unnecessary because they require Spider-Man to ask these questions. And I'm like, what's the point of asking these questions when you could just tell me what Spider-Man needs to know in the cutscenes? So I thought that was really unnecessary. And finally, I really felt that it really didn't add anything new to the Spider-Man, or the Amazing Spider-Man world that had been established in the first game. It really didn't try anything new. There was nothing about this game that really makes it stand apart. Anything that you would expect to be in a Spider-Man game is here, but for the second game in this series, you kind of would expect the developers to maybe up their game and throw something truly spectacular, and they don't really do that. So it's a real serious lack of opportunity. Now, this is clearly not the type of game that you buy, but this is certainly the type of game that you might be interested in renting because it is pretty damn easy. You could beat this game on any difficulty in about 6 to 8 hours, and you probably could add an extra 3 or 4 hours if you decide to take time to do all the side missions and pick up all the collectibles, which some of them are really cool, unique to look through. But in a whole, this clearly is not the type of game that you buy, and it's clearly just made to come out at the same time as the film, and I'm really getting sick and tired of developers doing this. If you're going to make a video game based off a movie, actually put some serious effort and some heart into it. Don't just make it some quick cash grab. So, if I had to give this game a rating, I'm going to have to give The Amazing Spider-Man 2 a 6 out of 10. Rent it, beat it once, get all the collectibles, then return it, and move on to the next great game. If you like this game review, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to keep track of me in my future movie and video game reviews. And like always, thank you guys for watching, you're awesome, and I will see you next time.